read. And I was, and the new kitchen, I was telling Kathy, I was like, boy, I love this kitchen. You know,
Where are you?
we finally got somebody to give us a quote for doing some demo and some drywall work and tearing the bathroom out. So finally got that. And did that together. You know, I ran some, you know, ran some numbers and I just think we could do better. Money, so
That they were possible with that.
What do you think you forget for it?
let's see what he has to say. There has been two places within 2 blocks from where it is that have been sitting. One of them, it looks like they did a quick flip. You know, they didn't. The other one, but they've been sitting. Now they're not, their yard isn't as big as that, and it's only a 2-bedroom. I talked to my one neighbor. They made a comment, and I said, here's what we'd like to get. You know, as a way you can, if we fix it up, you know, put some work into it. This and he never came back. So we're good at falls. You know, it's to the kitchen.
But how about pills?
It's going to be, you know, nice cabinet, nice countertop. Yeah. And then same way with bathroom. You know, it's round out. But
Computer. My little
my
boy.
phone.
Mommy's working. There you go.
a couple places, they over at our new place. I saw they had still been on the
Yeah, so they.
One's a rancher with a
No,
the lot is small.
Mommy loves you.
That's done like. It's a baby. Yeah.
Engineer.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Even though it's. And then kids are 15 months.
Love
I didn't know.
Mommy's working right now.
I don't know if it's anybody else. Doesn't play the NBA. Yeah.
Oh my.
Don't punish those.
I appreciate everybody for coming. The topic of today is pricing your listing correctly. And this is the agent framework. Everybody got a PDF? You do not? Okay, I got some extra.
I don't know. I didn't know.
Need two? One more? Nope, yep. If you don't have one, or you guys know Julie has access. There we go. You got one. Julie has another one coming. She has the copy. So if you guys miss it, you guys got access to it as well. And the people that's logged in online, they also have access to it. Julie's gonna post it for you guys. Okay, so as we start the new year, you guys know how important it is to be on point with pricing. There's I see a lot of newer agents, but I also see a lot of senior agents in here too, veterans. From my experience of doing listings, I think I probably got more involved with listing, probably I would say during COVID. Many people in here read the book Listing the Last. So, not too many, so, but there's a lot of, there's like, you know, that's. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, definitely. That's very good. Thing. But that was my theme song. Can't get enough.
Oh, I gotta find where.
You got it? That was Julie. That was Julie's music. That wasn't mine.
Back to your chair then.
Good,
You should have been in here earlier. didn't you?
they didn't even have that on earlier, did it?
Yeah, they did.
They did?
Yep.
Really had that on.
Where's the percent thing? Can't see it.
Right about it, right there.
Oh,
There.
geez.
Okay.
It's your first call.
Yeah, that's the, yeah. Okay, so why pricing matters?
No, I put your PDF on it.
Oh, you got it. Okay.
Oh, no, on the screen.
Oh, you're saying click it. Oh, no.
There you go.
Everybody has a copy of this too. Okay, by the way. We need a copy?
I need a copy.
2 copies.
No, that's the one. Thank you.
All right, so why pricing matters in 2026? Pricing is no longer optional. Buyers are cautious. As you already know, appraisals are tighter. And overpricing is punished quickly by the market, right? So the cost of overpricing. You guys already know, overpricing leads to missed opportunities, the momentum, longer days on the market, etc. Weaker leverage and the seller frustration, and they're ultimately going to blame you. As the agent, we are the professional, correct? So we need to guide them on pricing. Sometimes sellers don't know what the correct pricing is, so they lead on our understanding. The only thing they usually do is go to Zillow, go to one of these websites, type in their information, and then say, okay, Zillow saying my house is worth 400,000. And the house is only 1,500 square feet, right? It might be a row home, you know, so because of some other houses in the past have sold for that much, or they think. Sometimes what people don't understand is with Zillow and all these other websites, they using a large, vast data, and they don't really, it's not accurate. And a lot of times they don't use comparables, they don't use everything, they might just use a certain specific area. So they're pulling data from everywhere. So that's like you versus the computer, or the human touch versus AI. There's a lot of AI estimate comp machines and stuff like that out there trying to basically take the business, but there's no better business than the actual human that's trained to get to where they want to be at, as far as being a professional with pricing, with standards, and actually doing the work. There's no computer that's going to beat that, not yet. But so with that being said, some of the things that I did for my best practices is knowing, like being a professional is knowing when you don't know something. There's times where I have struggled with properties, especially like the property's got 2 or 3 parcels on one deed or something like that. I usually call Steve, or I call his company. I'm like, hey guys, I got trouble. They're like, oh, Randell, we got folders just for you. Why beat yourself up when you can call a professional? There's a big thing that I'm like, and I teach my teammates this. If we don't know something, we ask. That's professional. But when you go and guessing and stuff, that's not professional, no professional. And we can't be like caught out there just pricing stuff just because we think of something. It's more strategic than that. It's not a guessing game. And I think that's how I've been successful in the past. I honestly say, like, I've had appraisal cuts, but I didn't have that many. And usually if I do get a tight, I'm like, here's the comps. And sometimes it is corrected. Majority of the time mine are corrected because I priced mine based on comps. And I try to stay in that tight window where I price comps in under a mile. I don't even go to 2 miles. I might come under a mile if there's comps there, because you guys got to use the stuff that's close to your stuff. Okay, the first 14-day rule. Most serious buyers and the strongest offers occur within that first 2 weeks. You do not get a reset day, like when you do your price reduction. Okay, so strategic pricing. I know everybody in here going listening presentations, and we want it so bad. We were like, the guy said he listed for 600,000, but there's no comps for 600,000, right? So you have to be strategic. You got to be the professional in order to guide it. And sometimes some sellers are not realistic, and that's okay. As a professional, there's times where I say, I wish you well, and I walk away. Because there's no, if you're not gonna sell it anyway, and you just positioning your sign in the yard, that's not who I am as a professional. I'd rather work with people who understand that I'm the professional. Pricing is positioning. Price determines demand, market amplifies demand, but it does not create it, okay? The most common pricing mistakes, pricing for emotion, choosing the highest comp, ignoring the absorption rate, and testing the market to reduce credibility, okay? Some people just throw a price out there like, hey, how many times have listing agents or an agent here that had a listing, hear the seller say, well, you know what, let's price it there, and then we can reduce it later. Okay. All right, we can try that. But majority of the time, that leads to them getting less than what they would have did. Most of the time, it leads to them getting less money than what they did if they would have priced it correctly the first time. Sometimes if you price it right, you could get, now, the market shifted, so the days of multiple offers and all that stuff is not like it used to be, okay? I came into the industry in 2017, it was a totally different market. I done went through a couple different markets, actually. So, but, like, it's not the same as it was 2 years ago, not the same as it was during COVID. So you have to be strategic. Buyers are getting smarter. They'll sit and wait. Let's wait. Hey, Rondell, this property been sitting for 30 days. You think we can go and negotiate $20,000 under? Buyers are getting strategic. They doing that. You got the investors that do it too. If your property been sitting 60 days, you're gonna have Integrity First calling you. Hey, you got an offer? We offer it, might be 100 grand less, but we offer you something. So just make sure that you guys are just taking advantage of that, of being a professional. Okay, so next we are on how buyers decide. Buyers compare listings to what they toured recently, the open houses that they've been through, or what they lost bids on, and what their lender approved them for. That's how we that's how buyers sort of look at pricing. Competitive pricing wins listings. Correct pricing builds trust, protects credibility, and reduces downstream objections. All right, so you got appraisal myths that hurt deals. Agents must understand appraisal myths before the transactions occur. Do anybody got in here an appraisal myth that they know? All right, so here's the myth. The appraisers are trying to take our price down. That's a myth, right? Appraisers are there to determine price based on statistics, comps, and what they've seen the data show. They don't make up the price. Steve don't make up the price just to make it up. These are his supporting facts. Okay, so that's one of the myths that is usually out there. So people, I've seen a lot of agents scared of the appraiser. You're supposed to embrace them. Everything I learned, I usually learn from an appraiser, either whether it's Steve or whether it's one of the other credible appraisers that's out there. Those guys go through a lot of schooling, a lot of hours, a lot of training hours, apprenticeship type stuff too. Most of them got their credentials. I looked it up before. They need to have extensive credentials to be an appraiser. So just know who the professional is, and just understand that they're there to help you. They're not there to hurt you. Okay, so final agent takeaway: pricing is leadership. Strong agents solve problems early. If I have a problem.
There. There, you have to hit the button.
Oh, you got it?
I got it.
You got one?
People are still on it.
Okay. I think he fixed it.
Are we good?
Yep, I think.
So today I'm gonna roll through appraising. Need to know what we need to do and where we're headed. This morning, in all of York County, not including new construction, how many houses are available for sale? You can't look. Anybody?
600.
Lower. 442. 442 today, York County. There's over 1,300 agents in York County. That means every 2.5 agents share a listing. Not much inventory. There's currently 371 that are under contract. So there's approximately a 1 month supply of housing on the market today. We look at this. I'm what you call a statistic for, because I love statistics. I could call it other things though. I think we're bad. Adams County. Where's my Adams County guy? There he is. Yeah.
He's in the middle. On the
Yeah, play in the middle. 126 active, 84 under contract in all of Adams County. That ain't much. That ain't much at all. Let's go to Lancaster County. Anybody go to Lancaster? Anybody play over there? We got a couple of like that market. 296 active, 345 under contract. They have less than a 1 month supply of houses in Lancaster. And the prices are much more expensive. Almost $100,000 for the same price point in Lancaster. Cumberland, 256, active, 191, pending. Dolphin, 341, active, 233, pending. And Lebanon, or Lebanon, as my GPS says, 105 in all of Lebanon County that are active and 99 under contract. So let's take a 6-county market. There are currently active 1,571. So that means if we all covered that area and there was 1,300 agents, we'd each have a listing, and under contract 1,323. So did I surprise anybody? Did I shock anybody? There was a time, and he says he was in the market since 2017. Back then, we had almost 2,000 listings in the market. That's nothing. We have nothing. We're going to see those numbers go up this year? I don't think so. You're going to see them change much? I don't think so. The numbers are going to be, 26 is going to look a lot like 25, my opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but that's what I'm perceiving in the market today. I like to start off with that because it gives you a real understanding of, and he hit on it, why pricing is so important. And you guys will have access to all the slides today. You guys will have that. But that's why pricing is so important today. And I can't stress how important it is with pricing. So today, preparing for the appraisal, disputed appraisal values, appraisals ordered by lenders versus privately. We're going to talk about the economy and the housing market, which I think I already did, and the tax assessment appeal process. Just what do we do? Hit right?
Yep.
Yep. All right, here's my team. So I am the 4th generation. Behind me is my son, who is 3rd generation. And this June, the 5th generation will be born. So,
Ray didn't do an appraiser?
no, I don't read that. So my grandfather started our business. His name was Charlie Brown. And my father, I worked together with them. But as you can see, I'm kind of like the elder statesman. I got the gray hair. So I'm the elder statesman. So again, 3rd generation, over 30 years. So I've been actively involved in the market since 1990 as a state certified appraiser. And I got my real estate license back in 1987, and I've been a broker. So this past year, I'd say about 90% of what we do is appraising. And then the 10% we stand over here and play in the brokerage arena, listing, selling homes. Are you waving or just scratching? Just scratching. And stop me at any time you guys have questions. But we cover 6 counties, and those are all the counties that I talked to you about. My team is phenomenal. So there you can see my son, who's an appraiser. He's the fourth generation. And then Amanda, she's the first person outside the family that we actually hired as an appraiser. And she went through the training process and she is all but certified at this point, and she is phenomenal. It's different how the mind of a male appraiser works versus the mind of a female appraiser works. But at the end of the day, they still come to the same conclusion. But the way she may drive her car down the road versus how a male drives it down the road is different, but we all end up at the same place, which is kind of interesting. And then I've got a wonderful support staff. So Carissa on my left-hand side, she's the one when you call in, she's the one you talk to. She's the office manager. These are the people that really get the stuff done. I'm just the face. They get it done. And Ariana, all my employees have been with me since COVID, so over 5 years. And I've been very fortunate to keep them, and they're wonderful. So here's the areas we cover. So we talk about the housing supply. My son does primarily York and Adams. Amanda does really York, Cumberland, and Dauphin. She'll dip into Lebanon. And I pretty much do York, Lancaster, and Lebanon. So that's how we split it up. Here are the different kind of appraisals that we do. Ryan and I were just talking prior to getting here. He said, how was Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's? We are always busy end of the year because everybody has to have their projects done for tax filing by the end of the year. So I'm kind of now just in vacation mode, if you will, just kind of taking a breath. Preparing for the appraisal. Before the appraiser comes out, these are the kind of things you're going to want to put together. Renovation or improvement list. This isn't only on flip properties. This is any property. So we are currently going through, and it's not we, but nationwide, we're going through appraisal modernization. And it is going to be completely new forms that we will be on, and it'll be a whole new workflow as of November 2nd of this year. That is the drop dead date of when that's going to take place. And it is going to be a completely new animal. It's going to look a lot like the closing disclosure because they're Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac driven, but that we will be moving towards those this year. We're using appraisal forms from 1994. So think of it, if it was a car, it'd have classic plates on it. It was pre-solar panel. It was pre-everything like that. We're going to talk today about appraisal gaps. We're still seeing appraisal gaps written into agreement of sale, believe it or not. I know it's hard to believe, but we are still seeing it. And we're seeing substantial appraisal gaps because you're seeing less and less multiple offer situations, but in some price points, we are seeing it. And I think it's important to know and to coach your clients whether or not that makes the most sense, whether you want to win the sale for your buyers or not. Preparing for the appraisal. This was done by Jeff Wells. This is a property which Jeff had listed for sale. And he took one of my classes, and this is what he put together. And this is phenomenal.
That's great.
It is absolutely everything that I can scan and put right into my appraisal report, and it's unbiased. On the market for less than 2 days. 7 showings, 4 offers. All offers were more than list price, and terms and conditions of the contract acceptable were better for my seller. So that's why they accepted that offer there. And then he goes down through the list all of the features about this property. I scanned this, and this went into my appraisal report, okay? The underwriter had a chance to review it. They came back to me 7 times with questions about this property. And if you get a chance to look up 85 Rooster Lane, it was a contemporary house that sold last year. They beat me up on everything. So even though I had all of this in there, the lender was beating me up on the property. Literally, it was the day before settlement when they finally gave the clear to close. But I will tell you, this did help tremendously with the appraisal. And I highly, highly, highly encourage you to start putting these together and providing these to the appraiser, because I think it'll make the whole process easier. Yes, Tina?
If you get multiple offers, in command where it says manage your commission, and you can put the offers in and then you get like 3 offers. You can make that like grid sheet. I always download that and make a PDF of that, and then I email that to my appraiser. So they can see like I got 4, like exactly what I showed my buyer. You got 4 offers here, or my seller. You got 4 offers, here's the price, here's the terms. So that's already in command if you want to like just make it easy for yourself.
And that's helpful for the appraiser to have, redact names,
Right.
redact the critical information, because I don't need any of that information. But again, anything like that you can put together and feed to the appraiser, it shows how long it was on the market, what the demand was for that property. And I always tell people, we don't always just take the highest
Mm.
price. And again, that's part of the value of the agent.
I love
And I
you,
can't
honey.
express
Mommy
that
loves you.
enough. I mean, you guys, we're all the professionals out here that are doing this. Because sometimes the highest price is not the best terms and conditions for the sale of that property. You may like working with an agent that you've worked with in the past, and you may have a really high offer over here, but you've worked with this agent over here, and the chances of it going to settlement are not great. I'm going to highly encourage my buyers or my seller to take this offer over here. That's your job. I mean, it's to inform them of what property you think has the best probability of getting to closing. Ryan and I were just talking. I had a settlement on December 31st of a property, and it was up in Camp Hill. So we put the property under contract. It was right around Thanksgiving. Lender I've never worked with. So always a little sketchy when you don't know that, but I'm like, all right, we'll take a chance with this. And we were second week of December, and I was not contacted yet about an appraisal being ordered. So I'm not afraid to throw on my big boy pants and make a phone call. And I called the loan officer, and I said, hey, I said, no appraisal order. You ordering one, or has it been ordered? Oh, let me check on it. So she checked on it. She's like, yeah, we were just waiting to order the appraisal. We got some things we need to clear up. I said, well, what kind of things do we need to clear up? Because we got, holiday coming up. We need to get this done. So magically, the appraisal got ordered, and I was contacted immediately by the appraiser, and appraiser reached out to me and said, hey, they put a rush on the appraisal. Why is there a rush? I'm like, well, somebody didn't order the appraisal. Somebody wasn't going to order an appraisal unless I made a phone call. So again, that's part of your job, and again, that's one of those points that I tell people, from contract to closing. That's where we earn our money, is by making sure that everything happens seamlessly. Go ahead.
Question, and you may have said this, I'm sorry. When you said it was a random appraiser, a random lender, random lender.
Yeah.
Do you work with certain lenders, or is it all random how it works? Like, how do they grab appraisers? Or how do you-
So
It's different now.
Well, that's what I mean. I've heard how it was before.
So it's supposed to be a rotation, is how it's supposed to be. Now, this lender who the buyer had selected, she just didn't order the appraisal, is what she didn't do. And she was a mortgage broker. So again, not afraid to step on toes, but because I'm doing what's in my client's best interest by making sure the appraisal got ordered. So the appraisals are supposed to go out on a rotation. Now, if I may have appraised a property, let's say for an estate previous, and now they have it under contract, and let's say Tina's an agent, she could say, hey, Steve previously appraised it. If his name comes up as an appraiser, he may have all the information.
You're saying they rotate with all the qualified appraisers?
Well, whoever they put on their list. Every lender has their own set of approved appraisers, is what they have. So, every lender works a little different, or they use an appraisal management company, AMC, appraisal management company, and then they have a list of appraisers. And sometimes they'll select you by the lowest price. Sometimes they'll do it by the quickest turnaround time.
So that's why it's more common to see your name with certain lenders, because you have certain lenders you're approved.
We're on their approved
You
list.
can ask your lender, hey, ABC Bank,
Right.
can you see if you can get, Steve on, or can you get Melinda on? Can you get Hope on? And sometimes they're like, oh, yeah, they're already on, and sometimes they won't know.
So always.
But in that situation, then we got the appraisal ordered. And literally, it's December 30th. Now, we're to close on December 31st. It's December 30th. We still don't have a clear to close. We don't have nothing. So again, I called the lender. I'm like, hey, my seller, she's not happy at this point. She's ready to jump through her skin. And I'm like, look, let me just take care of this. So I called her, and on December 30th, she said, yeah, I'm 95% sure we're gonna close tomorrow. 95? How about 100, So again, and Phil's back here shaking his head. We all go through this, but it's like, I had to ride the lender. I had to do her job to get this property closing. And there was FHA repairs to be done as well, which we wrote into the offer that the buyer was going to do the FHA repairs. If that is the case, I will tell you, get it in writing that they can only go in and do the repair, the FHA required repairs, and nothing else. Nothing else. And make sure you have in writing who is going to be there as well. So please, please, please. Now that's me talking from my broker. I have my broker hat on. So I've just seen too many cases in front of professional standards at RAAC. So again, make sure you're doing all of those things. But anyway, long story short, we closed on the 31st. I ended up driving to Lemoyne twice because my seller had to sign early. Then I had to go back, and I had to make sure that the keys got there, and that I got my lockback box back, and that I got the check and brought it back to the attorney because it was an estate. So again, stay on top of your deals. I can't stress that enough. I mean, those are the things that are important. Any questions about this preparing for the appraisal?
And another thing that I also do is in showing time, you can pull that list of who's shown the property and their comments and give that to the appraiser too.
Yep.
Like if it says, my client, loved the location, but the yard was too small, or the house was fantastic, priced right, wrote offer, because then if you have like 7 showings and they all say wrote offer, wrote offer, wrote offer, you have then 2 ways through the command thing and then through showing time to give to the appraiser and say, see, I told you, we had 8 offers and here you go.
And to that point as well, it also can help you if you have an overpriced listing or a listing that's not selling, and you can get
Yeah.
the information with the feedback that says, don't like the location, don't like the driveway, don't like,
Or priced right, and then
but give honest
Nobody wrote an
feedback.
offer.
Don't give, I sometimes I get on my listings, I get feedback because, oh, it's Steve, he's the appraiser. No, I want give real feedback, and I'm not afraid to step on toes and say, you know what, it backed up to 83 and people hated the location or whatever it is, because it's only going to help the agent, the listing agent. Here's the FHA's back, USDA's back, VA's back. A lot of these FHA repairs are going to cross over into VA, but these are really the top 10, if you will. Chipped and peeling paint inside and outside, GFCI outlets, anything within 6 feet of a water source needs to be GFCI protected. Smoke detector on all levels, access to crawl spaces and attics. I don't know, they love me to carry a ladder in the back of my car. I got a 4-foot step ladder in the back of my car. Broken windows, they don't want anybody getting cut. Handrails, inside, outside, exposed wire, junction box covers in the basement where they have junction boxes that don't have cover plates on. Peeling or missing floors, rotted decks or porch boards, water pressure or drainage issues, drip tubes on water heaters. Now, I will tell you, now these are FHA repairs. We are now in 2026. We are now in high resolution photography. We are getting more questions from underwriters on conventional appraisals about water stains they're seeing on ceilings, flooring that looks like it's worn, things like that on conventional loans. It is about risk avoidance. That is the job of the appraiser is more than just determining value. It's about the risk of the loan. And where we're headed with this new appraisal form, 3.6, we have got to identify the walls, what they are, and their condition. The flooring, their condition. all of those kind of items are, they're looking at worn flooring. They're looking at stains on ceilings. I've had underwriters come back to me. We recently had a home. It was in the city of York, and it was one that had a flat roof, and the roof had leaked once upon a time. The ceiling was completely stained, and it looked like it had an active water issue. We didn't know whether it did or didn't. It was conventional. They required a roofer to go out and to certify that roof and make sure it was not leaking on a conventional loan. So while you can say, hey, let's take the conventional loan, it's the path of least resistance. Yes, but we're seeing a lot more of this. Insurance companies hate properties with roofs that we don't know the age of. And they're becoming more and more difficult with issuing them. I've cut more trees down in the past year that have been too close to to the house because the insurance company would not insure the property. If you can't get insurance on the property, they can't get their mortgage. The mortgage means they can't buy the house. Anybody experiencing that? Ever? No? Oh, it's coming.
Yeah, I went to Triple Play, and again, I would encourage anybody to go to Triple Play in December. It's a terrible time of year, but it's worth it. Triple Play is the Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey convention. And I heard a speaker there who was from Louisiana, and in the state of Louisiana, they just recently changed their sellers' disclosures. Insurance companies will not insure a house. You cannot list a house if the roof is over 7 years old. Seven.
State
So,
Farm will not write
yeah,
insurance on
so you just,
roof over 15.
yeah, your seller just put a 30-year roof on 8 years ago, and now they want to list it come January. The instructor was like, I have to tell them we can't list his house because his roof is now 8 years old of a 30-year roof. In the state of Louisiana, it's law now. So be prepared. That stuff is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I have a question regarding the garage. Like garage. Yeah, like garage.
they can't list it.
Roofs.
They can't list
Different
it.
feature.
Has to be
Do
7.
you need any repairs to that like the garage? And if it change, any.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve, do they have 10-year roofs we can put on in Louisiana?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of crazy stuff though that's happening out there.
Yeah. So here, this is another part of your job your job title has just expanded. This is a real world scenario of a property in Lancaster County. Okay, home had a finished area over a detached garage. Okay, agent stated this space could be rented out. It was finished, it was furnished, and it had its own separate utilities. We contacted the township to verify. In this case, the living area above the garage was not approved. So while they had put this right in the listing, they responded to Carissa. They had no record of 909 East Orange Street. Additionally, the property is located in R2 zoning and accessory dwelling units, AKA in-law quarters, were not permitted, okay, nor Airbnbs. And the garage may not be rented or used as a dwelling unit without a zoning board approval, okay? If the buyer decides to apply and uses an accessory dwelling unit, building inspection will be required as part of the process. Love this. We will be sending a letter to the property owner and copying the listing agent for this information. This is your job. This is my job. This is your job. So, and she had recently purchased this property, and she was told she could use it as such. She was not using it as such, but she was told she could. So guess how much value that area has? 0. Nothing. Who's culpable here?
False advertising. It's the agent, that seller. But that is also BS. It has no value.
Okay.
Space too.
They
They
did,
should have some value.
but they don't. You can't. Okay, so if it burned down, they couldn't rebuild it. So,
Not even a burn letter?
not, you think, was she issuing a burn letter?
Oh,
She was issuing a cease and desist letter right there. We are required as appraisers to get this information. You as listing agents, want to get your broker in here. I'll tell you what my broker says.
He's on the call.
Is he?
Yeah, he's on.
Oh, good. Me as the broker of my office, we are required to get this information because my ass is not getting drug into court. And that's a real good way of getting drug into court, unfortunately. And they were told it was perfectly fine, that they renovated the house and this was perfectly okay. It wasn't, unfortunately. I don't mean to scare you and I don't mean to sound difficult, but this is where we are in 2026. I mean, we are up against the wall here, but it's really our job. And, anybody who knows me knows I will probably err on the side of caution before I go the other way. Because the litigious society that we exist today, everybody wants a shot at you. And if somebody would have bought this and put mom and dad there and found out they could, and then they had to move mom and dad out of there, the agents both agents are getting drug in, both brokers are getting drug in, the seller's getting drug in. Anybody else want to get drug in, they're gonna have the appraiser in there too. That's why our E&O keeps going up and up and up. Go ahead.
So I have this exact situation listed right now. I just listed it on Monday.
This house?
Not that house. An ADU.
Okay.
And Will is our broker, and I talked to him about this. This is an estate. I started working with them June. He advised me to go right to the zoning officer, have the zoning officer send me in a letter and attach it right to the listing, which I did,
Perfect.
And he advised me to also have them right in there for them to do their own due diligence. But I have from the zoning officer, the approved uses for that ADU.
Correct. That is everything you need to do. That is, you did your job. Thank
Because
God.
Will, our broker, told me to.
Good job, Will. But again, this is part of appraising. This is also part of selling real estate as a whole. This is what we have to do. And this is where, I always tell the seller, we are going to verify this. Are you okay with this? It's a yes or no. Go ahead.
What are some of the main criteria that would stop a house from being zoned, used as an Airbnb?
Well, every
township.
every township does differently.
Specifically.
Well,
You have to ask the zoning boards.
yeah, they permit it. There are areas that don't permit Airbnbs.
Like Gettysburg, they want to preserve the area of the historic value of the town. They won't allow it in some areas.
And there's some HOAs and things like that, condo associations that will.
I got a phone call.
Try it in spring.
Not anywhere in Pennsylvania, but outside of Pennsylvania, that had a property in Gettysburg that the agent sold. Make a perfect Airbnb.
Ouch.
And you go outside of our area when you're serious about getting an attorney and you're serious about suing. I turned it down because I knew one of the agents and I'm like, not getting involved in this. But the agent made statements that were untrue and it affected the property. It affected the buyer because the buyer doesn't want that property now. And it's going to be expensive to undo what was already done. Don't only think about the commission that you made on that property, think about the legal expenses that you're going to incur.
Like you said at the beginning, don't act like you know all this stuff.
Mhm.
Like if you get an Airbnb, you better act like you've never done one of these before because they're.
Always ask.
Yeah. But again, the seller of this property had bought it only a year and a half prior to, and she was like, oh yeah, you can do all of this. Nobody did anything. Nobody did anything.
Well, that also speaks to if you're the buyer's agent. You better be picking up the phone or making friends with the zoning officers and going into these townships. Every township is totally different.
I'm gonna take another thing too. One of the sales guys, there is, like, when you're looking at, for like the inspections and stuff like that, there's also boxes that you can elect to check the zoning, check the description, to make sure that you know what you're buying, whether it's a multi-unit, because we all sold or been in illegal multi-units as well. So just make sure that you can check that box to check the different, the different zoning or restrictions.
The zoning on the land use code on the tax record is not the zoning, it is a land use code. If you see any of my listings in the agent remarks, you will see what the zoning is, and that is specifically what needs to go in the agreement of sale. And if you don't put it on there and you submit it to me, it's coming back to you, because we won't accept an offer that doesn't have the specific zoning, because quite honestly, a buyer can get out of buying a home if it has the incorrect zone on it. Am I making you hot, Maria?
Yeah.
As of October of 2024, it went into effect that there is a ROV, or reconsideration of value protocol, that every lender is required to follow. And and why is it? Is because they want to be very transparent to the borrower of the property, not the seller, but the borrower. Okay, and every lender's process is a little different. So only the borrower can ask for reconsideration of value if the value comes in below the sale price. Only the borrower, not the seller, the borrower. And you only get one bite at the apple. You get one shot at this. Okay. It is to be completed by the borrower. Now, you as their agent, you can help them. They're going to need help. You're going to want a maximum of 3 closed sales, not pending, not ones that might settle, and they have to be similar to the subject property: age, size, design, features. So if you're in York City and you have a city property, don't give me something in Central, don't give me something in suburban, don't give me something in West York. It's got to be in the same school district. Okay, very important. Yeah.
Is that true if there's a material defect in, like, maybe square footage? It's still the borrower is the only one?
Well, that's a great question. So when there is a material defect, what I recommend you do is, okay, only the borrower is technically supposed to get a copy of the appraisal. You'd be surprised who ends up with the appraisal, but the lender can only give it to the borrower. Now, if they share it with you, once you have knowledge of it, you can dispute it. But I would take it directly to the lender. Now, you're going to want the borrower to know what you're doing if you represent the buyer in this situation. The seller, I've seen the seller's agent get a copy of it. They cannot technically or officially dispute it, but they can point it out to their lender, and magically it could get back to the appraiser. But that's a great question, though. The difference between appraisals ordered by a lender versus privately. Whoever hires us is our client. The borrower on conventional VA, FHA, or USDA is never our client, and they cannot pay me directly for the appraisal. The borrower has to pay the lender. My client is the lender, the borrower. So I work for the lender. Okay. If it's a private appraisal, they can hire me directly. Okay. See all these form types down here? That's currently how many forms we have. The 1004 is single family. The 1025 is multifamily. The 1004C is condo. You don't need to know this, because with the new appraisal forms coming out this year, there will be one form for everything. Thank God. Here I was indicating who pays for the lender-ordered appraisal. The lender is the one who pays us directly. Who receives a copy of it? The lender. Only the lender and nobody else. That's all I can give it to. You can't call me up and say, team can't call me up and say, hey, Steve, give me a copy of that appraisal. Absolutely not. It ain't happening. Purposes of a private appraisal. And this is one thing he was talking about in the very beginning. We do appraisals for selling a home privately. we do it for if they did some renovations, want to know what it's worth, or if it's a difficult property to price. Okay. I will tell you, I am doing more and more and more pre-listing appraisals. Okay. I'm not going to steal your listing. I got enough pain in the ass. People, I don't need one more. You can keep them. Okay. In many situations, when you're at an impasse with a listing, you could say, look, let's have it pre-appraised before it hits the market. Let's get somebody else in here who doesn't have a dog in the race. Let's let them decide, help us to understand what the value of the property is. We are doing more and more of those because, love HGTV, everybody says, hey, look, who heard the commercial about Anderson windows? We can put these new Anderson windows in and they're going to increase the value of our home by 10%. I want to sue those people. If you ever see what renewal by Anderson costs, they are outrageous. But we're doing more and more appraisals like that because let me be the bad guy. They're going to pay me a fee. I'm going to come in and do my appraisal and I'm going to tell them exactly what the house is worth. Good friend.
Is that the same call?
Oh, yeah. Well,
You would do-
it
okay.
depends how difficult they are. It might cost a little bit. Selena Robinson, she's our past president. She's coming off this year. She just reached out to me. We ping pong back and forth a lot of ideas. She has one right now. It's well over listed price wise. And the people are just head shifted into what the value of that property is. So she's probably going to have me been on the market since November. And they just don't understand why this property is selling. Well, I'll tell you why it is. It's price, location, or condition. Pick your three. Location, you're not moving it. Condition, they're not changing it. So guess what that leaves? Price. And we all know if it's on the market this long, your price is wrong. The price was missed. This is where they wanted it. This is where they wanted it listed. And I don't know about you, but I hate wasting marketing dollars trying to sell a property, So let me be the bad guy to come in and to give them the bad news because I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to give them an appraised value just to make them feel good because at the end of the day, I didn't do my job and I'm not helping them.
Do you just supply the appraisal like it would if it was a regular through a bank? Or do you come in and physically go over it with them? Or do you let the listing agent go over it with them?
Any of the above.
Because they're your clients.
Yeah, so in that case, they have, it depends who's paying it. If you're paying me to do it, then I'm giving it to you and you go have fun with them. If they're paying me directly, I'll have the conversation with them. A lot of times as I'm going through the property, we're having the discussions. They're like, oh, look, we put these solar panels on. They're leased solar panels. How much do leased solar panels add to the value of the property?
Zero.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So again, let me be that person. We do a lot of this work. And again, I'm not, if you explain what you did and how this is impacting their value, while they may not like it, they're going to understand it. And I recently did one, not for an agent in here, but for another agent. And again, they have these lofty ideas of what this property is worth. It's on a steep incline. The driveway sucks. There's no backyard. And it's a nice property though. And I'm like explaining to them, and they listed it a little higher than my appraised value, but at least they're probably $20,000 to $30,000 less than what they thought it was going to be. But hopefully they understand that. But those are the things that, if you don't explain it to them, they're not going to know. And that's part of our job as a realtor and my job as an appraiser, because I have to interpret what the market is saying about these different properties. And when you get into enough properties, you can, do that. The sad part of our economy today, the very last one on this list, bankruptcy, we're doing more and more bankruptcies. I probably have done more bankruptcies in the past 6 months than I have in the past 6 years. Yes. The bottom, if you look at our economy, you have the top third, middle third, bottom third, the bottom third barely hanging on. Barely hanging. I've got 2 of my tenants that are currently paying me late on rent, unfortunately.
Steve,
Yes.
quick question. We asked about solar panels.
Uh-huh.
What about the charging stations at 1 bar? putting in their homes? Does that increase, decrease, or does it have?
I have a gas powered car. Do I care?
Because. The fire.
Yeah.
They feel the value.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, right. The fires, like, I don't want that target. But I'll buy it. It's price. And the other one.
Who has an EV right now in this group? An EV, electric vehicle.
We're realtors. We drive down to Delta. We need charging stations.
Today in the market, there's not an impact on value that people say, when I go out to look at houses, I want you only to show me houses with charging stations. That the same way with solar panels. You know, I have people say, only show me houses with solar panels.
My, I just asked because my God said, she's a realtor with television. And they they had a regular charger station, then they put a bigger one. Now they're gonna put a super, you know.
If you
And
have
so-
an EV, it's great. My neighbor, he has a Porsche and he has a place here and he has a place up in State College. And he put, I don't know how much he spent because he got the Porsche charging station for his EV, spent money on
Yeah,
John, like, you know, but that's what he wanted. So that's like taste and preference. It's just like
in their house.
that's it. That's it. Okay, if they're winning, then they ought to have their headies in. Yeah. But again, you know, that's taste and preference is really what it comes down to. But on an appraisal, we can't determine a value for that. Now, if EVs, and I'll catch in a minute, if EVs become really, really popular, which unfortunately they're not at this point. Good friend of mine, I went to high school with, John Chimbalvo. They have spent millions of dollars putting charging into their dealerships. And EVs were like fireworks. They were big when they first came out, and now they're going away. Hybrids are the most popular thing that they're selling today. Yeah.
So I have a question with the appraisal.
Yep.
The pre-listing appraisal.
Yep.
So you come in for the seller, you do the appraisal.
Yep.
You tell them 500.
Yep.
I listed at 500.
Yep.
2 days I'm under contract for 500. New appraisal comes in at 480.
You mean for financing?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it could happen.
Right.
It could really happen. If anything, hopefully I have helped you to get the price listed at the right price, because an overpriced listing is going to sit, and I know he said they will typically sell for less than what they should actually sell for.
So if we want to fight that appraisal,
right?
Can I use the one we paid
Yeah,
for?
absolutely. Now, the difference between a financing appraisal and a pre-listing appraisal or a bankruptcy or whatever is the form type it goes on. It's on a completely different form. It's called a G-Part. It's a general purpose appraisal report form. It looks completely different, but the methodology is all the same. So how we got from point A to point B, it will all make sense, you know. And again, I'm trying to give them real numbers. I'm not trying to make them feel good and I'm trying to get the house sold, you know, and I'm not trying to give them a low number. I want to give them a real number, something they can sink their teeth into, but they're going to look at me as being the professional that you recommended, or give them 2 or 3 names of people. Don't just recommend one, and say, look, here are all people that I know, I trust, they know the market, they're going to do the right thing. And that's really what you want to do.
Backing off that question, if your seller chooses to do a pre-listing appraisal as an appraiser coming in once you're under contract, that be something that you would want left at the table with the other information you like?
You can if you want, or you can keep it in your back pocket and just say, hey, you know, you could say, hey, look, Steve came in, he appraised it, you know, this is what he appraised it for, these are the comps he used, you know, and provide all of that data, that information. You can, it's their, it depends if it's your appraisal or their appraisal. If they paid for it, get their blessing to use that. I probably, you know, will communicate very much with the seller, make sure that we're doing what they want to do. Not like you took their appraisal and used it as quote unquote propaganda, not that you're doing that, but Sometimes you can get that adversarial position, and next thing you know, you're gonna come see me in front of professional standards at RAAC because somebody decided that they're just tired of you and, you know, you didn't do your job, blah, 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 and, you know, they don't like it. See these things? They're more than texting. Sometimes pick them up and call somebody. You know, it goes very well.
So Steve, I have a question. So you did the pre-licensing, pre-listing appraisal. It went under contract in 2 days. Nobody knows that this happened, that you did it in advance.
Right.
Okay. So it's under contract. When the buyer's lender looks for an appraiser through, you know, the Red Robin, and you see 123 Main Street come up and you're like, oh crap, I just did that last week for private. Is that something you would pick up then and say, oh my gosh, I just did it and you already have the data and you can just plop it in? Or would it be like?
Well, we have to first disclose to the lender that we've done an appraisal. Anytime we've done an appraisal on a property within a 36-month time period, we are supposed to disclose to the lender that we've done a previous appraisal assignment. It's up to them to decide, yes, it's okay, they do it, or no, we want fresh eyes on it. You know?
And then if they did say, yeah, it's okay, and you did it, I mean, you still have to go back out, even though it was like
Still have to go
weeks
back out.
later?
Yeah, well,
And you-
what if lightning hit the house and it caught on fire? You know, what if the
I mean,
windstorm?
because
is
the
right
roofs
there?
didn't grow or shrink or
Okay.
anything.
Yeah, but what if the tree fell on it?
To the house.
Yeah, you know, there are a lot of things can happen. What if lady or man came home and thought they had their car in park and drove through the garage? You know, a lot of things can happen. What if a pipe broke in the cold weather? You know what I mean? There's so much that could. What's that?
Even an improvement could have been the other way.
Well, I said vandal. She pulled up in front of a house. They were on vacation, okay? And a bee flew in. She thought she had her car in park. The appraiser ran into the house, hit the house. Imagine being on vacation, you get a phone call, oh, your appraiser just hit your house and wiped out your garage. Wasn't one of mine. That's why we have insurance. General purpose report form, okay. The G part is less technical, okay. It's easier to understand. That's really the difference between the G part form and the lending form. Who pays for the G part? We already hit that. Who receives a copy of it? It's whoever the client intends us to send it to. When they go out, if the seller is paying me for the appraisal and says, I want you only to give it to me and don't give it to my agent, you know, whoever they instruct me to give it to. Okay, that appraisal, and we talked about it, cannot be used for lending purposes. Here's RAAC does a phenomenal job of putting out a lot of good data you can use, and they put it on white paper so we can, if you're doing your CMA or if you're doing your listing appointment, you can put it right into the appraisal report. This is directly from RAAC. I put this in all my appraisals. That way, it's an unbiased third party of exactly what is in RAAC. And it tells you, okay, properties values have increased 7% from last year. That's not you saying it. That's our association, our trade association saying so. That's good data. That shows that you're in tune with what's going on in the market. Bright does an awesome job as well. Now, I serve on the Bright board of directors, so I'm a little biased, but I do serve on them. They put, and you can break this down into Southern York or South Central Pennsylvania. Here it has everything, the change, the number of days on the market, what's happening in the market, what's happening with showings. They're picking up, there's more showings, there's less showings. You can put this right into your listing presentation. We use this, we put this in our appraisal. This shows the lender what's going on. And it shows the lender that we know what's going on in the market today. This is the economy. This is, if you notice here, and this goes back to April of 23. This is the seller activity, the blue line. The orange line is buyer activity. Finally, in July of 2025, is when the 2 points finally crossed that we had an equal amount of buyer and seller activity. meaning we're not in a buyer's market, we're not in a seller's market. We're finally hit equilibrium where we have an equal push and pull between that. It's great information to show your sellers, and especially your sellers, that, you know, you're not going to be shooting for the moon anymore here. You need to listen to what the data says, and you need to listen to what we are recommending as far as a list price is concerned.
How do you get that from Bright?
It's right in the, it's marked, you get every Tuesday, you get a market update if you subscribe to it, and it's also on the right-hand side at the dashboard. It's right in there. You can pull it up. It's right there.
That's a good graph.
It is a phenomenal graph, is what it is. And again, these are some other graphs that are in there. You know, and this really shows, so when you sell a property, you'll get a survey from Bright, and if you fill it out.
Fill it out every time.
Yes, please do. Because they take all of that data. Not only do they aggregate it for the entire population of Bright, which we're now over 95,000 agents strong in 7 states and the District of Columbia, but they also break it down to locally what's going on. And it can show that, hey, there's uncertainty in the market. Buyers are not out there buying like they once were. They're worried about the economy. So we had a board meeting in December, and I was talking to some of our people that are in the DC market. They have a 6-month supply of housing in DC. Because of the government shutdown, they're Gonzville. Their market, their agents are like watching paint dry right now. And if you look at the Delaware market, the beach market, there's not that discretional spending buying the second home either. They've got like a 4-month supply of housing right now. So we ought to look at ourselves and say, wow, you know, even though we have a limited supply of homes, we're doing okay. We're very, very fortunate. And we always have. We haven't seen the high peaks and valleys of the economy that some other areas have shown. But the good part is we're at a point where we're still doing business. There's a lot of business out there. It's just, you got to go get it. And that's what it comes down to. But again, this is more data put out by Bright that you can put right in your white paper, why clients are buying, why they're not buying. And it's recent. This slide is a little old. There's a more recent slide than this. And again, it says about the second home or the vacation home, it's decreased. The shifting market. And again, this is what you need to talk about when you're talking about listing. It's not only about what the comps say and where you should be listing it. You need to also be keying in on this of why people are deciding not to sell their homes. I'll tell you why my 31-year-old son isn't selling his home. It's called 2.5% interest rate. He wants no parts of a 6.5% interest rate. That's a big problem. There's 3 people that are selling houses right now, and they're the 3 Ds: death, divorce, and downsizing. That's your market out there. That's who's selling the houses right now. Nobody likes death. People definitely don't like divorce. But downsizing is a real thing now where people need to right size their house because they're living in these big houses. These are the November Bright housing stats that are here, and this is for, if you see the green up here, it says South Central Pennsylvania. That's our market. That's specific to our market. And currently 12 days on the market is what it was back in November. You know, so again, pending home sales. It's great. Mortgage rates. Where are mortgage rates going this year?
Right where they're at, or maybe a dip, teeny weeny dip.
You got it. Everything I'm reading to the end of this year is about where we're going to start. Very little drop at all. But everybody says, but the Fed keeps cutting the rates. Yeah, they do. That's short-term money, not long-term money. You know, and that's what people are saying. Well, I'm holding back for the Fed. They're going to be cutting another 0.25%. You know what? They can cut another 0.5%. It isn't going to do squat to the interest rates. It's just not happening. So where we started this year is about where we're going to end this year, unless, you know, we go invading more countries, but that's geopolitical and that's not up to me. Home sales here, you can see we're highlighted 25 to 26, 9.7% change. Pretty substantial for our market, 9.7%. You know, when you look at some of the other areas, not so robust, but we're doing okay. If the US is at 9 and we're at 9.7, okay, you know, this is all data. Median sale price, you know, we're up again. We're going to continue to go up. I think we're going up again this year, which is good. Moving up is a good thing. Tax assessment appeal. This is a great way when you list a house to have contact with your client or past clients. Many of you don't connect with past clients, and I don't either. And I'll be the first one. How many times you sell somebody a house and you think you're their best friend, and 4 years later they're listing your house with somebody else, and you're like, oh, you loved with the job I did. This house, Ryan, love this. It's on the golf course, outdoor. Was sold, okay, July 24th for $850,000 is when it sold. Okay, my golf partner sold it to him. Their real estate taxes, $18,902 a year. A year. And they are tax assessed as $616,000. $820. The common level ratio, it's set by the county, or it's set by the state, I apologize, and it varies from county to county. If you take that common level ratio and multiply it times the assessed value, you will get the today current implied value by the county. So the county is saying that this $850,000 house, because the common level ratio is currently 1.98, when you multiply that out, is worth $1.22 million. That means they're overassessed, substantially overassessed. So, county changes the common level ratio on July 1 of every year. So this just changed. So what we did was we initiated a tax assessment appeal on this property. Is what we did, because they're paying way too much in taxes. So here's the current common level ratios for this year, and you can get this online. You can see up here, that's July of 2025 numbers. Your county is almost, it's going to go over 2 this year, is what it is. So basically, if you take the assessed value and double it, that's what the implied value is. So what we did was, we're back. All right. Also, when they bought the house, the county has a new way of producing income. They have somebody sitting in there that reviews all of the listings in Zillow, Realtor.com, and they found out that the buyer got a interim tax bill and said, oh, look, we saw you have a finished basement that was not reported on the tax record, but we saw it on the photos. So here's an interim tax bill. So they changed his tax assessment, and they increased it from 590 to 616, meaning he got an interim tax bill on top of it. He was thrilled. So you can file at any time for a tax assessment appeal, which we did. You have to do an appraisal. You cannot take your deed in and say, this is what I paid for the house, reduce my taxes. It doesn't work that way. You can't take a financing appraisal in and say, here's my financing appraisal. They want state certified appraiser, not a realtor, and they want a GPAR appraisal form is what they're looking for. So we came in and they charge you. If it's a single family home, it's $25. If it's an investment property, it's $50 per unit is what they charge. The county charges you. So we went in, here's the tax form, we fill it out. We went and did the appraisal. We have to take 4 copies of it into the tax assessment office. The borrower, the owner has to accompany me to the hearing. It's at the old courthouse, is what we have. And then they will provide, we have to provide that 14 calendar days prior to the appeal date. And the deadline to file is August 1st. So August 1st of every year, we have to file these by. We did the appeal. I wanted to back up, but anyway. And we ended up saving like $1,000 a year in taxes. Wow. It was substantial. And my cost was, with the appeal, the appraisal, and the court testimony was $1,000. So he's making money.
Question.
Can't overpass.
So like when the assessor looks at the Zillow or the Trulia pictures when people close, right?
Yep.
And they say, hey, so you got a finished basement now. And let's circle back around like where there was no permits pulled. It was the owner that did their own work. Is that something that you would challenge?
No, you don't want to open your mouth because,
No, but they already charged for it though. They got the interim bill.
yeah, but the buyer got the interim package.
Yes.
So your question is, do they want to challenge the assessment office that they didn't get a?
No, tell them that they already increased, they already did the increase, so their taxes are now higher. Because they received a bill stating that the reason your taxes are going up because we saw that there's another 350 square feet of finished basement.
Right. So they're challenging who, the tax assessment appeal? No, you don't want to do that because anytime you do an appeal, your taxes can go either way. They can go up or they can go down. If your assessment is lower than what it should be.
Just leave it alone.
Yeah, even if they hit you on a finished basement, and it's like, oh, yeah.
They didn't pull a permit.
Then you.
Yeah. Because I municipalities say, okay, well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna have you open up a wall, because we wanna see how it was drained.
At Heritage Hills, after they bought it, they looked at the pictures. The seller had to go back, they had to tear out all the drywall for them to check off electric and plumbing, and then the seller had to pay to get it all redone.
So be careful what you wish for. I think where we will be headed, and again, not a great place, but I think where we may be headed is, in the future, is they're gonna want us to validate building permits with municipalities. And I don't wanna have to go down that road. Because there's a lot of people that pull. Well, say that wrong. Put pole barn up. Yeah. So
Guy in there said.
he got.
Nowhere.
It's called a green permit. A green permit is when the leaves come on. That's when the construction
That's
takes
exactly
place.
it.
That is what happens. Now, the problem is,
Not the right way to do it.
it's not. Hey, what happens in this room stays in this room, okay? But what I will tell you is, if he was to sell the home, and hypothetically, that somebody says, have the proper permits been pulled to make this improvement? He's checking the seller disclosure, not be the appraiser, not you, his realtor, get the seller, you know? And it's a slippery slope, and I will tell people, be careful what you wish for, because it might come true, you know. But I will say this, most appraisers will work with you. You cannot influence me about value. We can have a conversation about what the repairs are, what repairs need to be done. We can have a conversation prior to your appraiser going out and saying, just so you see it, here's a letter from the township, here's a letter from the municipality. It is a legal use of what we have. Those are the kind of things we really need to know about ahead of time. And that's really, really important to have. Because I will tell you, the underwriters are not nearly as busy as they once were. They are questioning our appraisals tremendously. There are many times we touch an appraisal over and over and over again. You're going, what the hell is wrong? Why can't they get there? And it's the back and forth that goes. Questions about the pumps I may have used, questions about the condition I may have called the property, things they see in the photographs that we touch. We are completely paperless now with all of our appraisals. Everything we do is on an iPad. I will tell you, if you have a price change, please change page 2 of the agreement of sale. If you have an escalation clause, cross out whatever the price was and write in what the correct price is. Many cases, we're not getting the escalation clause. Okay, make sure you're making those changes. That's really, really important. And make sure that even the lender knows what the right price is, because from time to time, they don't know what the price is as well. All right, now's your time.
Just for clarification, when you are in a multiple offer, you end up using an escalation addendum. Your recommendation is to
Change
rewrite it?
No, just cross out page 2, have them initial it, but write in, hey, the price was 200,000, but we escalated to 212. Put 212 there on the second page. Don't leave that 200, make me go try and find the escalated price. we are still seeing price escalations. We're still seeing buyers paying both sides of the transfer tax, especially in Lancaster. That river is not so wide. You'd be surprised at how much business is over that way. And the reason the prices are so expensive is post-COVID, people are working from home. They can't afford Westchester, Conshohocken, but they can afford Lancaster. Those Lancaster prices have driven the people into Columbia. Columbia, don't take this the wrong way, used to be a river rat town. It ain't that way anymore. And they've come across the river and now they're in Wrightsville and they're in Pelham, and those prices have really gone up significantly as well. So it ain't that far to Lancaster, folks. And, you know, I'm working with Shauna right now because I want to know how many people, agents outside of York County are in here selling our properties. I think it's pretty significant that are, you know. What other questions you have?
So for the new appraisal fund stuff that's coming down the pike.
Yep.
I know that PAR is starting to talk about a new seller's disclosure.
Yep.
Because we're gonna have to do silly things like appliance brands, appliance serial numbers, all that stuff. And like half the time I can't even, force my sellers into filling out the seller's disclosure we've got. When we go in to try to explaining new, updated, or old versus flooring, cabinets, walls, like, can you speak to that a second?
I
And
can.
people may not even understand, but like,
Okay, I'm gonna give you.
listen to Michelle Bradley's talk that she
Yeah.
did with PAR a couple months
She
ago.
knocked it out,
Yeah.
out of the park.
Yeah, you should be scared.
Let me give you some scenarios. We now have to measure under these new forms that are coming out, which they'll be out before November 2nd. But when they do come out and the lenders, we don't even have the software yet.
Yeah.
But we'll have it shortly. We're expecting to lose about 20% of all appraisers, okay, nationwide, because there's the median age of most appraisers is over the age of 60. Median. And a lot of them aren't going to want to learn the new technology because everything's completely mobile. We're now going to be required to measure the height from the front door threshold where you walk in to the ground. We are supposed to, on waterfront properties, Susquehanna River, Lake Marlborough, if there are any properties on there, Lake Mead, all those areas. We have to measure how many front feet of waterfront you have and what is the depth of the water at the waterfront. I'm serious.
To get waiters.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's gonna get.
Yeah. So if let's just say you have a home that destroyed, but they were able to keep the foundation, and you build a new home on that foundation. It's not a new home because you use the existing foundation. It's a resale of the existing home. This is how critical things are getting. Leases on solar panels, you might as well start gathering them and putting them in. And I'm working with Bright right now to get some fields that we can put them in the associated documents. You better have the complete lease for the solar panels up front, owned, lease, whatever they are. They are going to want to see the entire lease. The same way with leases on who deals in multifamily? No? Yes? You might as well start uploading leases for every individual unit. They're going to want to know the lease. They're going to want to see that. They're going to know the exact square footage of that unit, of every unit individually. And I will tell you, I'm going to say this. If you're not using floor plans, whether you're using Kubicasa or one of the floor plans, start putting floor plans in, just like you have the photos. Put the photos in there of the floor plans because they're going to make your life a lot easier, and they're going to make the appraisal process much more expedient. They're telling us it's going to take us right now, I can go through a home in about 20 minutes. They're going to say you might as well start thinking about at least an hour at your average properties to gather the data and take the photographs. If we have worn flooring, they want a picture of it. If we have new flooring, they want a picture of it. When we talk about kitchen remodeling, if you say, oh, I have a remodeled kitchen. Well, what'd you do? Well, I put a new floor down and countertops. That's not a remodeled kitchen. That's an updated kitchen. And you better be able to say, we updated it with granite countertops in 2018, and we put ceramic tile backsplash in 2020. They're going to want to see specific dates. You might as well start gathering the data I'll probably be back in to talk to you guys probably late spring, early summer, because by that time we're gonna be getting real close if we're not already into it. Because you guys are gonna be doing a lot more on the front end, gathering data. They're telling us that probably 30-day closings are not gonna happen. That we're gonna be moving more to a 45 to a 60-day, at least in the beginning, because the underwriters, they don't even know how they're gonna be underwriting these new forms yet. So it's a complete learning curve. On
Again,
all fronts.
good reason to go to PAR meetings. They're free, they're
Yes.
painful,
So
but
for
they're
prepping
free.
your sellers with this stuff, or is it essentially saying if you don't have this documentation or dates, we won't be able to add the value to that?
Well, no, it's not adding value. It's
We're not using that value.
well, they're gonna need to know all of that data because you're gonna be getting phone calls after the property settled saying, when was the kitchen done? You know, when was it updated?
Sure.
And just like what Jeff Wells had on his, the kitchen remodel, and if it's a gut and remodel to the studs, that's a remodeled kitchen.
I'm just thinking sellers,
They don't.
half of them, include this,
Yeah.
right? They don't have this stuff, so.
We're gonna have to impress upon them that we need the data, that we gotta have it. Because they're gonna be, if it's not on the appraisal, they're not gonna get it through underwriting, and if it doesn't get through underwriting, you're not gonna get the closing. So it's gonna be a
Setting the
domino.
expectation that this could really impact our transaction.
Yes, yes.
You might have said this and I might have missed it, but what is the cause of all these changes?
This is appraisal modernization. Believe it or not, this started in 2018 and it's now 2026. It has taken us 8 years to get to this. That we're using forms that are from way back when. It's also about risk management. And you think about when the real estate market crashed in 2000 in the late 90s or in the late, yeah, 08 and 10. They don't want that ever to happen again. So they're spreading the risk out among everybody. And they're making sure we don't go back through what we went through previously.
Do you stand by these changes? Like.
I like
support
that.
them?
We need new
They're
forms.
pain in the ass.
Yeah,
but you-
yeah. It's anything is painful. This is gonna be painful.
Very.
It's gonna be painful, but I think in the end, when we come out, headed is AI. AI is everywhere. But it listens to you, you know, it knows where you are, it knows where you're going. Hey, you know what? You're near Starbucks. You want to stop and get coffee? You know, so they're going to be able to utilize AI to help to underwrite these forms in the future. They're not going to replace the appraiser. They don't have smell-o-vision. They can't tell if it's a steep lot. You know, there's a lot of things that go into that. They're not going to replace the agent. The agents are under attack. They really are. But again, our job is to think back to when we had to change where we couldn't talk about compensation. You know, oh my God, how are we ever going to sell houses? Do sellers really question you when you explain to them how you're compensated and who we're compensating and why we're doing what we're doing? Exactly. It was, again, that firework, you know, it was a big thing in the beginning and now it's okay. It's, you know, but I have had a lot of agents tell me they are making and charging more now than they ever have because that is your value. And that's your value proposition is what you know and how you know it. It's just like, hey, I went to this thing and, you know, the appraiser told me that we need to get this letter about this ADU thing. So I'm going to get this ahead of time. You know, it's just like that closing I had on December 31st. I went out there, I walked in with the seller. The seller was flipping out because she's like, that wasn't what he had on his estimated closing costs. I'm like, hold on, it's an estate. They got to hold back your taxes here. And she was fine. Then I went back, got her check. Again, that's that people want the easy button. They want to hit the easy button. This is a stressful time in their life. And if you can say, look, I've got you with the transaction. I'm going to help you through the appraisal process. You know, if you explain what you're doing and how you're going to do it, that's all they want to know is that it's being taken care of. That's really what, at the end of the day, what they're looking for. Yes, I stand by the changes. What's that?
They don't like surprise.
They don't like the price?
Surprising.
Oh, no, nobody likes
You
surprises.
can kind of scare them, you know, well, this may happen, but something just to crop up and they know nothing.
Maria, how many years in the business? Easier now or harder now?
Oh, it's definitely harder, you know.
Much harder. When I started in the business, we had one form, 3 copies. first time, and you hand wrote everything, and you pressed really hard, so you got to the third part. You couldn't see shit. That's what it was.
We had to hand deliver all of our offers to the, nothing office.
1985, I started working in our family business. 1985. This is no lie. Downtown, 101 South George Street used to say York Federal Savings and Loan Association. I could walk in the door of that bank, walk right back through, we're past the vault, go back to the processor's area. We would pick up a file. It had their tax returns in, it had their social security numbers in, it had everything in. Snooky was her name, a little white-haired lady. She handed me the file and said, here, have your dad or grandfather do this appraisal and bring it back to me when we're done. I said, anything out here? No, you're fine. That's how we used to appraise. We'd sit down with the typewriter, type it out. I mean,
So electric.
it wasn't even electric. Yeah, it probably was electric typewriter. And we would bring it back to them. And if they needed a change, we had to type the whole form over again. The whole form.
There was no whiteout.
No, we had to
Became a whiteout.
Correct tape.
Yeah. But that's the changes that we have. And our business is going to continue to change and evolve. And I think by you guys being here and staying informed, I think that's the biggest thing. But AI is out there, it's everywhere, but it's not going to replace you. It's not going to replace me. And at the end of the day, as long as we continue to show our value, we're going to be fine.
I mean, it's kind of logical. If you think of the solar panels, why wouldn't you put them on there? And if you're a buyer agent, why wouldn't you request them? Like, it should be done anyway, right? That piece of work?
I can't tell you how hard it is to get, to get.
You're a buyer by a house, but you can't see.
I can't tell you how many times I go into a home to do an appraisal. I'm like, do you own this or lease this? Blank stare. They don't have a.
Cleaning out the people.
Yeah.
If you put it in here.
Yes.
Yes. And you gave us like.
Yeah, rip it up.
Okay.
All those houses, they're gone. They're completely gone. They continue to go up. Yeah. But if you have specific questions about what we're adjusting for, please feel free to reach out to me.
Could you spit out any like ballpark numbers, like a bedroom, or?
No. Well, okay, so a bedroom in, let's take a $50,000 brick rancher versus a bedroom in a $1.2 million house. It varies so much. And land, when you do land, if you value land, and I learned this from Martin Heaps, and if you ever do a farm, don't get over your head, call Martin, okay? He said, Steve, he brought in a book, and it's this thick, and it's an Amish directory. It lists where every single Amish person lives in Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, Ohio, and he is phenomenal when it comes to the Amish and knowing where they live and what they do. And one thing he said is, do not value land that you don't know, like what can be produced on it. And the other thing is, do not value trees because you don't know the value of trees. And he is really, really good. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Martin is phenomenal.
Howard Hanna Shrewsbury.
He is a walking encyclopedia of anything farm related.
Take him out for happy hour and he'll answer any questions you have.
He knows so much.
Yeah.
Him or Brad Smith, the auctioneer, either one, they know anything and everything. Because if you're selling a farm or a property with land and it's in an area that you may think you know, but the Amish are in that area, that property could be worth vastly more than that. True story. I've been in Lancaster a lot recently. The bishops are becoming very liberal. There is more. I was in an Amish house that had electric.
Well, that's on the shoulder.
They're moving toward electrification.
Or they're hiding it. They're doing it.
They're doing it. It's in the kitchen. She had one outlet in the kitchen. They had a light in the basement. They have electric. And if the bishop will allow, they can have it. They're becoming very, very liberal. Very liberal.
Staying out later, 150 years behind.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you letting me come in.
Wow.
That's great. That's gotta be
About
because otherwise. Yeah. Yeah.
we are there. It's my best year.
Innovations that celebrate, innovation. Do they have permits? It's like that. He got a lot of kickers in it. Kicker on the field. Yeah.
Price this one. Didn't have any showings. I was price was started. We got 2 offers. And then open house on that one. So they offered, the one we went with, they offered 10,000 list price. Second offer 25 Eastern. The appraisal people at list price. Okay.
Here's the year of the price of the social. It's kind of great reductions in this film. It was in a very
And one ball. Sorry.
So we start to say something. Base to way goes. If said to 6 years, but you still got all these shootings. Everyone says that it was they like to them they do. There's, you know, yeah, and they have like 14 issues and they, I mean, it's 20 years old. So, you know, if it wants that, and you're really God, an age who wants to go there, she wants to go there to live. So that, I guess that's the only reason that we got that for because there's nothing. And I said he goes to.
Yes. They, not much interesting.
It's consumer confidence is so great. No, yes.
Gals every.
Go down. I mean, mine look at this before. I want to get $1,000. So I have the shot of panels and I'm going to see
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
All right. Mine was 150 bucks for any. Yeah, I got in 6 months before it's very good. But still.
Right. Maybe somebody gets screen. Just
Have a bunch of oil.
right. Like. Tree has enough anyway.
I was talking to him about oil, and he says, it's freaking crazy, the oil that. Also, the refiners can't handle this oil. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm just gonna go over to daycare in a minute. Real estate in Boston, that there were 20 daycare centers within like a 12-mile radius. Yeah. That the fraud that's going to. That's great. This is what
You're in.
not get.
It is. And that. I actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You them off the grid. Yeah, yeah. I don't get it mindful. I mean, it's so fun, but yeah.
Yeah. We can do all here at the end of the day. The 2 weeks. It's lovely. Everybody's.
Yep.
I'm not saying.
And Obama, they're really one and the same. No.
What do you have?
Oh, okay.
You know that there's something. And if we replicate.
But. And there's a stretching. Yeah. Funny, they're there. So communities. All that shit was taken down. You did. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The guy who owns this place to figure out. He was there. I just saw somebody.